This is my video, Calming the Nerves, and that's the title of the painting. This is my setup that took me quite a while to put together, and I keep it to the left of my easel when I'm working. The first step is always to tone the surface and then start drawing. I'm using a chalk pastel pencil here, and my viewpoint was slightly different than the photo that I took because I was working from life, but it's very similar. Then the next step I do is to put in all the color blocking. It's kind of a nice thin layer of paint that I'll layer over top of later. It establishes the main values and color tones for the piece. It's a little bit more opaque in some areas, but pretty much just putting down the colors. And a lot of this will show through, but much it will get covered over. My first step for those flowers is to be really simplistic and just put in the form, the shapes that I see, and then I add details later. Now this video has been sped up like 8,000%, so it's going through really quickly, but this one took a little while. It's not super big, it's only 12 by 12, but I have a lot of steps that I do, and sometimes I'm rethinking as I'm painting. I'm changing things a little bit. Here I'm starting to add more layers now on top of that first layer of paint. Starting to add some highlights and a little bit of detail to some of those flowers. And as I go through, I'm trying to keep a really loose kind of approach to it, even though this painting is fairly tight looking. Everything around the edges especially is very loose. It's just a bunch of fuzzy shapes. A lot of dry brushing for acrylic to make things look softer and more blended even when they're not. Now all these highlights can come in. Now that I've got the first layer of paint down, I start bringing in some of the highlights little by little to help pop everything out from this darker background. And I really like a lot of contrast. As I'm working, I'm using a palette knife to kind of mess up the outside edges and soften them a bit so that things are fading away in the background and drawing your eye towards what I want the focal point to be, which is the teacup itself. I'm also fuzzing out those highlights. The last step I do is to go in with the bright highlights and put them on again even thicker and more opaquely until the end, when I made a few other adjustments to color and texture around the outside edges. But I had that teacup be really nice and sharply focused for the most part. And then I signed my work.